Hello and welcome back to our devotional time here at Temple Baptist Church. Certainly glad that you have chose to be with us. It is always a joy to be with you. We're going to read a verse of Scripture out of Jeremiah chapter 29. We're going to look at verse 12. Again, I'll encourage you to look at some verses around that, verses 10 through 14. And what we have here, the people of Judah have been chronically unfaithful and disobedient to God, and God brings this pagan nation of Babylon upon them, and they're exiled for 70 years. Of course, Jeremiah, I believe, witnessed the destruction of Judah, but God just reminds His people that He didn't abandon His people in Babylon forever. He says in verse 12, Then you will call on me and come to pray to me, and I will listen to you. That's the question. Of course, you can't answer it over via TV, but you can answer yourself. Do you ever wonder if people are really listening to you? Or maybe even worse yet, do you fear that God is not listening? Let me share an interesting little story I heard, and when I share these stories, I'm taken by faith that somebody has already researched these, but it has to do with United States President Franklin D. Roosevelt. And it said he often endured long receiving lines at the White House. You know how that was. One right after the other would come by and shake his hand. And the story's told that he complained that nobody paid attention to him and just was nothing doing. And so he decided to experiment at the next reception. And to everyone who passed down to shake hands with this, he murmured this, "I murdered my grandmother this morning." And the guest responded with phrases like, "Marvelous, keep up the good work, God bless you, sir." And it wasn't until the end of the line, the greeting from ambassador from Bolivia, that the words were actually heard, what President Roosevelt was saying, and this ambassador whispered to him, "I'm sure she had it coming." Well, we can wonder if whether people listen to us or not. We can always tell if people are listening to us based on their response or their eye contact, but how do we know if God is listening? Should we rely on feelings, or should we see if our prayer is answered? After 70 years in exile in Babylon, God promised to bring His people back to Jerusalem and secure their future. And when they called upon Him, He heard them, and they knew that God heard their prayers because He promised to listen. And I think the same thing is true to us today. In 1 John chapter 5 and verse 14, we see this. "Now this is the confidence that we have in Him, if we ask anything according to His will, He hears us." I think the key there, not only does He hear us, but if we ask anything according to His will, He hears us. So He does hear us, and we don't need to rely on feelings or wait for a sign to know that God listens to us. He's promised to listen to us, hadn't He? He's promised that, and God always keeps His promises. So if you think nobody's listening to you, don't try the experiment that President Franklin Roosevelt tried, but just remember that God is listening to you. He knows He wants to answer all of our needs according to His will, not our wants, but our needs according to His will. And so just keep that in mind, that God always listens. "I will listen to you." The last part of that verse that we read, God listens to us. May God bless you is our prayer. Come and be with us here at Temple at any time that you have the opportunity. We have Sunday morning service at 8, Sunday school at 9, and a second worship service at 10, Sunday night at 6, Wednesday at 7. May God bless you is our prayer.